I mean, they have been known to, but most of that is gators that's been in the wild that someone thought was cool to go feed. Once you start feeding a wild alligator, he thinks everybody's gonna bring in groceries, and he ends up hurting somebody. If people just leave them alone, you can swim with them. They're kind of curious, they'll get pretty close to you, checking you out, you go towards them, they run the other way. These, on the other hand, they're used to people feeding. When we go out there in the water with food, they come running at us. Now, if we're not feeding, I can go get in that water and they'll just get out of the way. They're not dumb, they know when we're feeding, when we're not. They got ears, I mean, they hear you when you're talking to them, they're hearing what you're saying. You can train them to do tricks even.
What do they eat, chicken?
Chicken, we feed leg quarters here. We buy by those 10-pound packs you get of leg quarters, we buy it by the cases. We go through, in the hot summer, we'll go through July and August, we go through about 400 pounds a week. When we first start feeding in May, I'm going around to each one of them. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? I may be lucky to feed 5 alligators out of all these gators when they're outside.
Really?
As the nights start warming up and the days start getting hot, their heartbeat starts picking up. Their lungs start functioning better. Their metabolism will start going. They start getting body functions again. Then they start eating. And the hotter it is, the more active they are.
How long can one of those things stay submerged underwater?
Anybody that tells you that, they're going to be lying to you. You watch documentaries. I watched a documentary that said 2 hours. I watched another documentary that said 45 minutes. We got a book in there that says 6 hours. Nobody knows. I've seen them 8 hours stand underwater and just never come up from brother air. I can tell you it's at least 8 hours, but I don't know. The only way you would be able to tell that is if you could speak alligator and ask him, did you hold your breath as long as you could, and did you take a bigger breath as you could? Even if you was a scientist or something, hooked him up on a machine, hooked his heartbeat, and held him underwater until he quit breathing and died, who's to say he took a bigger breath as he could? Who's to say he didn't flip out and blow his air out before he had to? You know, there's no way of really knowing that. A lot of documentaries, they'll make up stuff just so they look like they know what they're talking about. I'm not going to sit there and lie to you. Anything I'm going to tell you here is either from me hands-on doing it or from working with the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries down there in Louisiana, where we used to go down there and get some little babies and stuff. And I've got CDs that's on a computer from years and years of study on alligators at the house. I got so much information I've not even been over it all, from where they just did studies on alligators. And what we tell you, it's either from us hands-on doing it or from Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries down there.
See, now there's one that's totally underwater right there.
There's a few of them.
So they don't eat at all?
They can't digest it right now.
But how do they survive without eating?
They're living off of what they ate last year, and they can actually do that for a total of 2 years, not eat a thing.
So are they like in a hibernation type state right now?
That's exactly what it's called. I mean, they don't pee, they don't.
Like a bear can eat a whole bunch and then sleep all the way.
Exactly. That's exactly what they do, and they can do that. They can stay asleep for up to 2 years. And another thing about them, if they're in a pond, bunch of fish in there, they eat up all the fish, there's no more critters just coming around there, there's no food supply, it could be middle of summer. They can shut themselves down at will.
Wow.
Just because they know there's not enough food. They can shut down until food comes back. And
So that's how they've survived for so many years.
Exactly, they say they've been around since dinosaurs. That's why they did it. I mean, because they're real hardy critter. People will ask us a lot of times, how far north can they live? If it warms up 3 months out of the year, they can survive there. Because about 3 months of gorging themselves, you know, they're going to be good for the rest of the year.
Do they migrate?
They have been migrating further and further north every year. When I moved here 16 years ago, I didn't have a fire ant one in my yard. My yard is covered in them. I moved from Texas where the fire ant was coming from. The fire ants got migrated up to my house down here, and they're actually, the fire ants just keep going north too. Gator's doing the same thing, he's just doing it up the riverways. About 4 summers ago, we became a sanctuary for game and fish. Any nuisance gator or confiscated gator here in Arkansas ends up getting brought here to perform.
Really?
Yeah, and we've gotten gators out of Jonesboro, Arkansas. That's way up north.
Yeah.
We've gotten gators out of Missouri. We've gotten gators out of Kansas.
Really?
They're headed that way. Now they're not plentiful up that way. People go, "Oh, they here?" You know, in this part of the country, 16 years ago they weren't.
What about?
I can tell you right now, they were here. There just wasn't that many because every single lake around here has alligators in it.
Really?
Yep, they don't like that being put out because people swim in the lakes.
Mhm.
But there a guy come in here that was bow fishing over there on Hamilton. Shows me a picture, he's holding about 6 baby alligators on his, has a picture on his phone that he took. He let the babies back go in the lake, you know. But there's mama there somewhere. The Gray Lake, I know there's at least 4 in there. And I know there's a 12-footer in that lake too.
So every single.
What about that story about that one huge alligator they say is living on the subway in New York? They said he's lived down there for years. It's huge.
Yeah, Mythbusters, I think, did a deal on that and said he wouldn't be able to survive, but he could survive down there. There was plenty of rats and stuff down there.
And it looks like they're hot down there, and they like to do.
They can make it down there. I mean, they could survive down there. I mean, it's possible.
They survive with the
I've never seen
yeah.
it, but I've heard that story a lot, and yes, he could survive down there. They were sitting there, Mythbusters were saying, oh, well, we don't see no signs of it, but they were showing, you know, the rats that was down there and stuff. A gator could survive down there and grow pretty big. He had plenty of food coming to him.
Are those real eggs?
They are real, they're not alive, though. I mean, those were, if you look, there's only actually 2 gators coming out of the egg. They were preserved like that, just so you see, that actually happens underneath the ground. And then they get, the mama gator will dig them up.
There are also things to watch in the wild. When we were in Florida, we used to go down and just watch them. And you could just watch them literally for hours.
This guy right here, he's always, when I'm out there and in the water, he always tries to sneak under the water.
How did you get them from here out to there?
Lake Hamilton High School out here?
No,
Yeah, I know, Lake Hamilton High School out here.
That's where they go to school.
All his, well, y'all know Jamie Bridges, tennis coach out there now, he used to be the basketball coach. Jamie Bridges. He usually, before we move them, he'll tell them, the kids one day, hey, we're moving gators this day, you want to come, bring your families, whatever, come on. They'll take them out there in about an hour and a half. Actually, it's about 45 minutes to get them out, about an hour and a half to get them in.
big one, huh? You just carry them?
They grab them by the tail like this, and they start dragging them out there.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, big mom.
Yeah,
That one's a real.
Yeah, I'm sleeping.
That big one that I was messing with earlier, wherever.
He's over there.
No, there was another one.
That was in there. He crawled from there up to there.
Is he in the water? Yeah, there he is, right there. He's him, her, and there's one more. Are the 3 oldest gators here. And the sign there's the 65. They're actually 66. Actually, they're going on 67 years old this year.
Damn.
But there's these starting here at 25 and go up to, well, it'll be 67 this summer. But right now it's 66 years old. The 25 to 66, the signs are on there, with the exception of one alligator. And I do believe it's this gator right here. And that gator right there is actually a teenager. Should be back there in the back pen, but it's growing so fast, we moved it into here. It was in that pen year before last, we had to move it into that pen. I grew them gators last summer, we put it in with these. Its genetics are just unreal. And we actually call him Blondie, and we call that guy right there Blondie also. But we had a Blondie in the big pen and a Blondie in the teenage pen, and it ended up, now we got 2 Blondies in the big pen with the same name.
And they won't on their insurance.
Not right now. No, in the hot summer, when you're walking, you don't ever want to walk right here. That gator could get me. If this gator wanted to right now, he could reach over here and grab my leg and I wouldn't be able to react to it. To their sides right here, they're real fast. In the summertime, I'll approach them like this. I'll be back here. If I go up my side, I'll always stick behind his front foot. That way when he swings, he ain't got nothing to bite. Or I'll step around and come at him to the front. If he lunges at me, I can move. It's just, you know, and I can make it look like I almost got bit, and I did. This time of year, I go right here. I have no